Hadrat, expression of honor and respect. Abu Said Faruki, Hadrat Ebu Said Faruki, was among the well-known Awliya, those loved by Allahû Taala, a grandson of Hadrat Imam Rabbani, and a famous talaba, student follower of Hadrat Abdullah Dehlevi. He was born in Hijri, year 1196, Miladi year 1782, in Rampur, India, and passed away in Hiri, year 1250, Miladi year 1835, at the age of 53. He was brought to Delhi and buried next to his khodja, Islamic teacher, Hadrat Abdullah Dehlevi. Even as a child, signs could be seen on his face that he would become a salih, one who is pious and abstains from sins, and valuable person. During his childhood, he never concerned himself with the games and entertainments children normally enjoy. By the age of 10, he had memorized the Quran al-Karim by heart. After learning both aqli, intellect, wisdom, reason, and naqli, revealed knowledge from Quran al-Karim and Sunnah, things which Allahû Taala does not clearly command, but which our acts our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam praised, or which he habitually did or which he did not prohibit, though seeing them done ilm, knowledge, he studied the ilm of tasawwuf, purifying the heart, spiritual development, and advanced on this way. In Hijri year 1225, Miladi year 1810, on the 7th day of Muharram, he was able to join the suhbah, companionship of a prophet or wali, that is, one that Allahû Taala loves, talking about their blessed lives or reading their books, of Hadrat Abdullah Dehlevi, who showed him extraordinary respect and honor. After spending a few months in his company, Abdullah Dehlevi granted him ijaza, diploma testifying to the holder's authority on Islamic knowledge, in the Mujaddidiyya, Chishtiya, and Qadiriyya tariqats, ways to orders of tasawwuf, and gave him the authority to guide others. He entrusted most of his talabas to him. Distinguished alims, Islamic scholars, such as Hadrat Maulana Khalid al-Baghdadi and Hadrat Sayyid Ismail Madani benefited from him. Hadrat Abdullah Dehlevi told his talabas, "The irada, intention, will, desire of a talaba should be like the irada of Abu Sa'id, for he chose to leave teaching and preferred to be a talaba." Hadrat Abu Said Faruki stated in one of his precious suhbas, "Salat, ritual prayer, is among the affairs of the akhirah, hereafter. When you stand in salat, you depart from dunya, world. The thoughts of someone whose himmat, inspiration, courage, and strength are weak will be scattered with various concerns during salat. The remedy for this is to know the causes of such thoughts and be freed from them. Some of these remedies are as follows. The person making salat should leave nothing in front of them to distract their mind. They should not make salat on patterned or colored rugs, as these distract the qalb, spiritual heart, through the eyes. The remedy to keep the qalb present in salat is to push away distracting thoughts. To remove something, one must first eliminate its cause. To do that, the cause must be determined well. The reason thoughts come to mind is either from external causes or from internal ones. External causes may include sounds and noises reaching the ears, shapes catching the eyes. These quickly affect the person's salat, distracting them. Then the mind, through these, drifts to other thoughts. Thoughts then follow each other like a chain. The eyes and ears thus become sources of various distractions. But for those whose spiritual station and aspiration are high, what comes to their senses does not distract them from salat. They continue their salat with khushu, deep and humble reverence, and calmness of qalb. If you are among those who desire akhirah, perform your salat with tadil arkan, keeping the body motionless and settled for a brief period between the various acts of salat long enough to say Subhan Allah, with khushu, with the awareness of your servitude and helplessness. When you hear the muazzin, person that calls Muslims to salat, bring to your qalb the fear of being called on Qiyamah, day of resurrection. If you feel joy and happiness upon hearing the muezzin, know that you will be called on Qiyamah with glad tidings and salvation. The Salaf as-Salihin, first 3 generations of Muslims, Sahaba, Tabi'un and Taba at-Tabi'un, would leave everything upon hearing the adhan, call to salat, and run to the Jama'ah, community of unified Muslim worshippers, for salat. When you come to the place of salat with wudu, ablution, ritual washing of certain parts of the body for salat and ibadah, do not be ghafil, forgetful, of what is in your qalb. Purify your heart with tawbah, repentance, and istighfar, to entreat Allahû Taala, to think of one's sins, to remember one's faults, defects, to fear with the thought of the torment in the next world, and to tremble in anticipation of the bitter torments of Jahannam. Astaghfirullah al-adhim alladhi la ilaha illa hu, al-hayy al-qayyum wa atubu ilayh. For the qalb is nazarga ilahi, place where Allahû Taala turns his attention to. When you turn toward the qibla, direction turned toward during salat, think like this. Your true turning to the Qibla is not just toward the Kaaba al-Mu'azzama, exalted, respected Kaaba. Your qalb must turn to Allahû Taala and remove from itself the love of anything other than Allahû Taala. When you are standing, remember that you are in the presence of Allahû Taala on Qiyamah. Salat offered with khushu, tazim, reverence, and haya, bashfulness, decency, modest, performed solely for the rida, approval, of Allahû Taala, will cause the mukashafa, that is ilahi nur, divine radiance, called the door to unveiling ilm, to shine in the qalb. One must make shukr, expressing one's appreciation by using nimats, blessings in conformity with Islam. For the nimats given, Allahû Taala has 2 kinds of nimats upon his kul, living creatures that worship, humans, malaks, angels, and jinns, genies. Those nimats of their bodies and those of their mal, money, property. Bodily ibadah is to make shukr for the nimats of the body. Mal ibadah is to make shukr for the nimats of mal. La ilaha illallah is the greatest fortress. It is a sublime statement declaring the unity of Allahû Taala. Whoever makes it their fortress attains siyadet ebediyeh, endless blessings of this world and the next, and nimats. Whoever does not will be doomed to adhab ebediyeh, endless punishment, torment. One of many stories of Hadrat Ebu Said Faruki. One time Hadrat Ebu Said Faruki was traveling from the city of Rampur to Sunbul. At night he reached the shore. There was no ferry left to cross. The driver of the carriage he had hired was gayer Muslim, non-Muslim. When they arrived at the shore, he said to the driver, "Drive the carriage into the water." Frightened by his majestic presence, the driver drove into the water. By Hadrat Ebu Said Faruki's karama, supernatural wonders of walis, the carriage did not sink but went across the water as if on dry land. The gayer Muslim driver, amazed by this karama, accepted Islam. In another suhbah, Shah, Emperor King, Hadrat Ebu Said Faruki said, "When the boundless grace of Allahû Taala reaches one of his kul, he brings that kul to the service of one of his beloved ones. That beloved then orders him not to follow the desires of the nafs, a force in people that commands and dominates their desires, wishes, and appetite, and is enemious to Allahû Taala, and to perform what is burdensome to the nafs, that is, to follow Islam. In this way, the qul's batin, inward, such as the qalb, ruh, nafs in humans, is purified. O people, do not neglect believing according to the creed of al-as-sunnah, the i'tiqad of belief which is required in order to have correct iman, following the sunnah seniyya, Islam, that is, all the ahkam Islamiyya, Islam's commandments and prohibitions, and avoiding all bid'ah, innovations to Islam. As much as possible, act upon azima, the more meritorious and difficult way in carrying out commandments, and not become caught up in overdoing things that are allowed. Hadrat Ebu Said Faruki once read this letter from Hadrat Imam Rabbani as nasiha, sincere advice, to a talaba. My precious son, today, you are in a state where you can easily do whatever you wish. Your youth, health, strength, wealth, and comfort are all together. Why do you postpone doing the beneficial things, the deeds that will bring you Sa'adat Ebediyeh, until tomorrow? In the best days of your life, in your youth, you should strive to perform the commands of your Master and Creator, to worship Him, and to refrain from haram, prohibitions in Islam, and from doubtful things. Do not miss performing the 5 daily salats in jama'ah. Muslims who own merchandise at or above the amount of nisab, the measure of richness in Islam, the minimum amount of wealth that a Muslim must have before being obliged to pay zakat, obligatory almsgiving, commanded to give zakat after 1 year. It is absolutely obligatory for them to give zakat. Therefore, they should give zakat gladly and even beg the poor to accept it. Allahû Taala, out of His mahrama, mercy, grace, pity, for His quls, has only asked for 5 daily salats in 24 hours and the giving of about 1/40 of trade goods or grazing animals. He has made haram only for a few things while making mubah, acts, utterances, behaviors that are neither fard nor haram and which have been declared to be permitted, for countless others. So not allocating less than 1 hour in 24 to perform the commands of Allahû Taala, not giving 1/40 of your wealth to the poor Muslims, and ignoring the countless mubah things but reaching for haram and doubtful things is a tremendous stubbornness and a great injustice. The time of youth is when the nafs boils, lusts are stirred, and human and jinn devils attack. In such a time, even a small good amal, deed, receives great thawab, reward to be given in akhirah, as a recompense for the doing and saying of what Allahû Taala likes. In old age, when worldly pleasures decrease, strength and power fade, and hopes and opportunities disappear, there will be nothing left but regret and sighing. Many do not even get the chance for this regret. That regret is still considered tawbah, repentance, and is a great ni'mat. Yet many cannot even reach those days. Hadrat Ebu Said Faruki's passing. After visiting the Haramain, Makkah and Medina, he set out on his return journey. On the way, his illness worsened day by day. On the first day of Ramadan, he said, "If it does not harm me, I will fast the whole month." That day, his illness increased. He said, "Let us pay the fidya, recompense for unperformed ibadah," and added, "Although there is no fidya for the sick or for travelers, my nature desires to pay it." On the 22nd of Ramadan, he reached the town of Tunk, where its Nawab, viceroy of the region, Waziru Dawla, showed great respect and honor. On Eid, Islamic religious holiday day, he was seen to be in the throes of death. After the Dur Noon Salat, He ordered the recitation of Surah Yasin by a Qari, Muslim that has memorized the entire Quran al-Karim. He listened to it 3 times. Then he said, "That is enough." He said, "It is close," and added, "Today, let the Nawab not come." The coming of the emirs brings darkness. On the day of Eid al-Fitr, Eid of breaking the fast, between Dur and Asr, afternoon salats, he passed away. It was a Saturday. The Nawab and the people of the city gathered together. His janazah, Muslim funeral, was transported to Delhi. 40 days later, when his blessed body was removed from the tebu, coffin, to be placed in the qabr, grave, it was seen as fresh as if just washed. There had been no decay or change. He was buried on the western side of his khodja Hadrat Abdullah Dehlevi,